The events of the last few videos took place in a really short period of time. You figure I was on the bus listening to music going to San Quentin on July 14th. I met Sam that afternoon. The morning of July 15th, Egghead was getting stomped on the yard. And I had my first experience with the San Quentin showers just a couple hours later. That might have been the scariest thing that happened to me the entire time I was at San Quentin. And then, by the time the 17th rolled around, I was out on the yard having the mandatories explained to me by Sam and failing at a prison workout. I haven't had time to talk about a lot of the little details about doing time because you can't talk about every single detail. It would drag on forever and just be boring. But something that I have to talk about is getting used to being alone with yourself and with your thoughts. After Egghead got stomped, I was alone in my cell all day, every day. And there are some things that happen every day. Maybe you have the roll calls or the meals. But we only had yard 3 times a week. We had showers 3 times a week. So besides these things, it was just quiet and darkness and staring at a wall. Come 9:15, they bar block all of the cells on the tier. What this means is that they have a long piece of metal called the bar that they pull a lever and it locks every single cell on that tier. There are 2 of them on every tier and 5 tiers. There are 10 bars that they block. The cops do this and they turn out the lights and they leave the tier. That's the end of the day's program. Shortly after this, there's roll call. The shot caller for each race will call out each cell that has a member of their race and check to make sure they're okay. It's real easy to participate. All I have to do is sit there for about a half hour listening to people yell things until Sam, down in 220-something, will holler out, "Aaron, 248! You alright down there, white man?" And it's my job to yell something back. Like, "This is Aaron in 248. Respect all my white brothers. Good night on the tier. Respect everyone." And that's it. I'm done for the night, and I've checked in to let everybody know I'm okay, and I can go to bed. But you've probably already slept. There's a lot of hours just alone in a cell in the day. So the lights go off, and it's dark, and you wait. And you wait. Breakfast comes, honestly, faster than you would expect. And they'll do roll call again, and the cop will unblock the bar so that now all the doors can be opened whenever they're ready. And they'll open up all the doors, and you step foot out onto the tier, and you look for other people of your ethnicity. I'd have to look for a couple of other white guys to stand next to. This is important, that everybody from each ethnicity kind of clumps up together into groups before they start running Chow, because all inmates have to walk to Chow in a single file line. You don't cut ahead or fall behind. It is a single file line, and they mean it. So you want to sit with people of your group whenever you get to the Chow hall. Since there's no cutting forward or falling behind, you want to be standing with people of your group whenever you leave the section. And the cop will announce something on the PA once everybody's ready. It will sound garbled like he wants to be a radio DJ. It'll be, "Chow time, chow, 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 chow time! Everybody get out and go to chow!" And you know what it means, even if you can't understand the exact words he's saying, so everybody files out. Badger section opens up into this long hallway. And it looks old and decrepit, but it's beautiful. It's like what you'd expect on the inside of a castle. It's dilapidated gray concrete and narrow windows set into crumbling facades and glistening razor wire against every wall they could cram it. And just outside of Badger section, on the way to the Chow Hall, is Death Row. It has a little sign in front of it that says East Block. And every time that I'd walk past it, I'd get a little shiver. I'd think about the idea that I'd been facing the death penalty, that they'd been talking about executing me. I'm not superstitious, But if there's one place in the world that has felt haunted to me, it was that door with the nice little plaque that said East Wing and this decaying, rusted blue steel door that was inset against concrete that was just obviously older than anything else in the hallway. Death row is one of the oldest parts of the prison, and you can tell from looking at it. It looks old. And you walk on, and there are dozens of guards with batons or pepper spray. Badger section, the inmates were segregated from general population for a reason. And you can tell that the cops mean it, that they're ready in case something happens. We all walk to the Chow Hall, and it's this giant room, which you could almost call like a cathedral just because of the beautiful paintings that are in the middle of the room. Each of them is 25 feet tall and 20 feet long. There's 6 of them. There are murals that were painted in the year 1953 by a heroin addict who had won an art contest. The warden allowed him to spend his nights painting in the Chow Hall, and for 2 years he, 2 assistants and a guard, worked tirelessly to paint these beautiful murals. You should look them up. He actually came back to the prison in 2005, and not as a heroin addict, but as a famous artist who was given the keys to the prison 50 years later for having painted these beautiful murals that have survived. And I just walked along the line in my spot looking at these things of beauty, and I couldn't believe that they were in this awful place where ugliness was the norm. There was no beauty at San Quentin. Maybe somebody had a postcard of the ocean pasted up on their wall. That would be what you called beauty in San Quentin. And here are these 6 murals, 25 feet by 20 feet. And I realized that I haven't been paying attention. I've been looking at the murals. I hadn't realized I'm the last white guy in line. I can't change my place in line. I get my tray and I walk to the table, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm realizing that I'm going to sit down first, and that there are going to be 3 Hispanic gentlemen that I've never spoken to sitting behind me, all 1, 2, 3, 4 at the table, that I need to be polite, that I need to be careful, that I cannot afford to have any kind of incident with another race right now. I just got to San Quentin. They all 3 sit down and they're speaking Spanish quickly, and it's a little scary for me. I have no idea what they're saying. For all I know, it's literally, so on the count of 3, we're going to get up and rush this guy. And one of the gentlemen can tell that I look a little uncomfortable. And he stops, and in perfect English, he introduces himself and his 2 friends, and he explains that they don't speak English, so I hope that I don't mind if they all speak Spanish together. And he introduces me to them, and it feels civil, cordial even. I feel plenty relaxed sitting down to eat my prison tray. One of the elderly Hispanic gentlemen takes a jalapeno that he has split lengthways. He didn't chop it this way, he split it lengthways so that there were 4 pieces of jalapeno. And he gives 1 to his friend, and there are 2 left on the thing because he has 1 that he's set aside. And he kind of holds it out to me. And I think for a second, and I decide that A, yes, I'd love a bite of jalapeno, but B, it's polite, and so yes, please, please. And he sets the jalapeno on my tray. I don't think about it, if I'm being honest. Maybe I'm even looking at that mural again, just thinking how beautiful the thing is in such a strange place to have it. And I take a bite out of this jalapeno. The elderly Hispanic gentleman is immediately upset. I don't mean he slaps the table or calls me a bad name, but his eyes kind of... And I know I fucked up, and I don't have a clue what I did. And I tell him, sorry, Spensa, which Spensa is commonly used Spanish slang in prison for sorry, essentially. And the English-speaking gentleman explains to me that of the 2 slices of jalapeno that the guy gave me, only 1 was for me. The other 1 was for the 4th guy sitting at the table. I didn't understand this. And again, I apologize, and again, he looks angry, and it occurs to me, what if I just give you the jalapeno out of my lunch? I ask the English-speaking gentleman, can I just give him a jalapeno and we call it square? It was an accident. He's immediately mollified. He's not angry at all. He kind of laughs and shakes my hand, and we're good. Apparently, he was just concerned that this was some strange trick on my part to rip him off for a jalapeno. once we're clear that there's no disrespect intended, we're all fine, and you better believe that I'm paying attention to the whole rest of the meal and that I don't look at that mural until it's time to get up and walk back to my cell. One last glance at the mural on the way out to, I don't know, store some beauty maybe, give myself something to think about for the next 20 hours I'm going to be locked in the cell. Past death row, a little shiver down my spine, back into Badger section. It's loud, the stink hits me like a wave whenever we open the door, and back to the cell. And I can't stress this enough, back to the silence and the waiting and the nobody there and the being alone with my own thoughts. I take some time that day to reflect on the nature of beauty, because we can become starved for it. Whenever I walked into that Chow hall and saw that mural, it was like my soul was being fed. And I know that sounds cliche, but I needed to see something beautiful after days of concrete and steel and stink. But because I was enjoying it, I quit paying attention, and that very well could have been my life. The story could have ended with me making some gentleman at San Quentin in the dining hall angry, and him taking my life from me without a second thought. It's difficult to find the balance. We need beauty in our lives, but we also need to be aware and present and prepared for the terrible things that can happen from day to day. So, take a moment. Find something beautiful to reflect on. Find a piece of art, a poem that always hits you just that way. And then whenever you're done, take a breath and remind yourself that we can't always live with beauty and joy. Sometimes things have to be serious, and you have to just pay attention to what's going on around you, because it could be your life that depends on that little moment where you took a bite of a jalapeno without thinking.